have a question for you. Have you ever thought about doing anything for 1,000 days in a row? Today's guest not only did it, he used it to build a framework for living with purpose, one tiny step at a time. Welcome to Life Mosaic. Hi, I'm Weezy, and I love to share stories that connect the generations, weaving together the threads of life into a beautiful and lasting legacy. This is a space where every moment and memory matters, embracing the joy, the challenges, and everything in between that shapes who we are. Join me as I uncover and celebrate the living legacy that transcends time and space, creating the mosaic of life one story at a time. I always enjoy chatting with you, Richard. You always have something good and inspirational to share, and
Thank you.
you and my guest would not know, but behind the scenes, you were very integral in Weezy's growth. And you've known me since the conception of when I went from Ellie Video Productions to Weezy and morphing over into that space. So, and you were always just very encouraging. And so before we get started, I just want to say thank you for all that you have fed into my life.
You're very welcome. It's been a pleasure.
So, anyways, Richard and I really have known each other for years. We would meet each week for an accountability group. And you're going to hear a little bit more about what we would do in those accountability groups. But first, one of the things that I want to talk to Richard about is I said something in the opening about 1,000 day journey, a challenge that Richard gave to himself. So, Richard, go ahead and share with us that 1,000 day challenge.
It was about 2.5 years ago. So it was actually just before, or well, it was November 2022, and I'd connected with another guy, a friend of mine, and for whatever reason, I was looking at his feed, and I saw this great live that he did, and I watched it, and then I suddenly realized that it was the last one of a whole series that he had done. And as I watched it a little bit more, I realized that it was the last one of 1,000 that he had done. And I thought, that's really interesting. I wonder whether I could do that. And so I just decided to do it. Now, he had some kind of rules around the way he was going to do it. And if he missed a day, he decided that he would pay $20 to a charity for the
Okay.
person who noticed that he had missed a day. And I thought, okay, well, that's very cool for him. But if I do that and miss some days, that's going to cost me a lot of money. And actually, that doesn't feel like very motivating to do that. That feels like to me very motivating to not even do it at all. So I thought, okay, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to do a 1,000 consecutive daily Facebook lives, and just to see what it's like. Um, and over time, I developed this kind of little pattern where I'd say, I'm doing this because I want to see how I might grow, what I might learn. I want to get on the journey of consistency, and I hope that this will inspire you, if you're watching, to get on this journey as well.
Yeah.
So that kind of became the little thing. But the thing that I did differently was that I also wanted to find out whether this thing called the next tiny step method, that we'll probably talk about at some stage, I wanted to see whether it actually worked. I was telling people it worked, and I wanted to see whether the next tiny step method would actually work for something like this. So I thought, okay, what is the tiniest kind of step I can take every day that will help me stay on the journey? And I decided that the tiniest step was just to push the blue go live button every day. If I
Yeah.
pushed that, then I was complete. I was done. Now I know that sounds a little funny because it's like, well, what sort of kind of success is that? But it's a start point. And I knew that if I could make the starting point really, really simple, and if that's all I needed to do to tick off and say I was done, then that would kind of release me to do whatever I wanted to do after that. And it also meant that if I was really sick, because the journey it's a 2 3/4 year journey, right? So I started on the 1st of December 2022, and um, I actually finished on the 26th of August. I don't know whether you can see this, but the
Yes.
last few days I checked off, and
Awesome.
I finished on the 26th of August. And there were a couple of days during that 2 and 3/4 years that I was really sick, but I still went live because even though I'm lying in my bed really sick, all I had to do was push the go live button, say, "Hi, everybody, I'm here showing up, and I am feeling really ill today. So that's about all I'm going to say. Hope you're having a great day. See you again tomorrow. Bye." And so there were a couple that were really, really short like that. But but also, what I wanted to do was get better at just speaking to camera. One of my goals was to, and goals, that sounds kind of, we'll get into that as we go along.
Yeah, but it was
Because the
one of the
actual,
steps that you wanted to hit on your
yeah,
challenge.
it's more like we can talk about what a goal is in my world. It's well, it's simply it's a direction to go in, not a destination to get to.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a journey that I want to get in, and that's a quote by James Clear. And I also believe it's something that Rich Litvin, who's an amazing coach, international coach, he talks about a goal being a direction that you go into or go in, not a direction you get to. And so I also wanted to be very good at talking on camera and hopefully making the people that I'm talking to on camera feel like I'm really talking to them. I'm not just kind of talking to this camera, or I'm not reading words or a script or something like that. I'm actually speaking heart to heart. So
Yeah,
that was kind of one of the other things.
I liked. I will tell you what my favorite days were was Fridays. Fridays because not only were you doing this, but you're a musician. You make guitars. You're a very talented guy. You did that. You would show off pies that you'd made.
Yeah.
And beautiful crust. I have to say, being a baker, I cannot make a pretty pie crust. You make beautiful pie crust.
Oh, thank you.
So, but tell us tell us a little bit about your Friday ventures with your friend. Was his name Terry?
Terry, yeah, yeah. So there, Terry has now become an international celebrity. I'll be able to tell
Yes.
him that. It's Friday here in New Zealand, so he's actually turning up here for lunch in about 3 hours' time, and we're going to jam and play some blues. Jerry is an amazing blues harp player, a harmonica player, and so I got to meet him. Well, we'd been acquaintances for years. We'd had lots of mutual friends and we knew each other through the music industry, but we'd never played together. And then about a year ago, I got to know him a little bit better. We had a jazz band that was playing at a local cafe. And then that stopped. Actually, no, actually, I think it was still going. And I just said to Terry one day, I said, "Why don't you come around, have a coffee, and we'll talk about blues rather than talk about jazz? We'll talk about blues." And so that turned into a consistent Friday afternoon that we've been doing now probably for a year.
Yeah.
And, I thought I knew something about the blues until Terry turned up. And it has been fascinating. I have learned so much. I hope my playing's improved. And it's been a delight. And for him, it's been really, really good as well because he used to be a full time musician, made his living out of music. And, through COVID and some other things, life got a little bit tough for him, as it did for all of us, but certainly it hit musicians pretty hard. So it's been really, really great to be able to get together with him on a regular basis and be, an encouragement to him and get him back playing again. And so, it's been mutually very beneficial for the both of us.
Have you ever wanted to share your story, but felt like you just didn't have the time or the skills to make this happen? That's exactly why I offer my done for you storytelling and video services. From start to finish, I handle everything scripting, recording, editing, and even posting so you can share your story without the stress. You just bring me your story, your voice, and I'll turn it into a polished professional video that captures your message and connects with your audience. It's perfect for personal stories, business messaging, or even preserving your legacy for future generations. No tech headaches, no overwhelm, just your story brought to life. Learn more and get started at weezyinc.com. Let's create something that lasts. Yeah. Um so through this progress of the 1,000 day journey,
Yeah.
you've worked this for years, but in your notes you have an acronym that it's a little bit different than what I was used to. So you told me
Yeah.
you've developed
So
the step method during these
yeah, the
thousand
little
days.
tiny. Yeah. So I mean, there's lots of things in there. You're right. I do a lot of things, and I don't know that I do a lot of them particularly well, but I do them okay. So I'm kind of, I don't even know whether to put this out there live, but I'm kind of in the process of writing a book about some
Oh,
of
okay.
what I've been doing. And so I've needed to kind of clarify some of my thoughts. And so a next tiny step is a single, tiny, easily doable, purposeful action. So S.T.E.P, right? For step.
Mm-hmm.
Single, tiny, easily doable, purposeful starting point, basically. And it's the idea that if we can become easy to start and hard to stop, then we can make huge progress in the direction of our goals or in the direction that we want to go in. And, you know, I believe that we have way less ability to control the outcomes of things or the agency we have over the consequences or the achieving of our goals. I don't think we have anywhere near the control that we think we have. But I think we have way more agency, control, ability to take the actions required to head us in the direction that we want to go. So these start points, I think we have much more ability to control and manage the start points that keep us going. So the thought is that if we can be easy to start and hard to stop, it's something my dad said to me years ago, Richard, be easy to start and hard to stop. Then we can make massive progress really fast.
Yeah.
And so the next tiny step method is about helping people identify how to get over that kind of overwhelm, how to get over the feeling of being stuck, how to get over that feeling of just feeling like they're not making any progress and they just want to give up. Well, I want you to know that there is always something you can do, even if it's incredibly small and tiny. And that over time, when you keep doing those things, it actually builds the belief in you that you can do more and you can keep going.
So with all of that, can we kind of role play and kind of give an
Sure.
example of
Sure.
if you were working with somebody, how to set their intention to their next tiny
Okay,
step?
so if we're working together, Weezy, so I might say to you, okay, what's a project you're currently working on, and one that you know would make a significant difference to you if you could just get on and do it, and maybe you felt a bit stuck, maybe you felt a little bit overwhelmed. So what's a project you'd like to make some progress on?
I am currently revamping my YouTube channel, and I
Right,
need to make some new videos to
right,
restart that channel.
great. So you need to make some new videos, and if you could start making these new videos, that would well, what would that enable you to do, accomplish?
To I've Can I elaborate a little bit, or do you want me to just
Yes.
answer the question?
Yeah. No,
Okay,
you can
so
elaborate.
I mean I have like 200 videos in my YouTube catalog,
It's amazing.
but I was a different person. I
Right.
was a different person when I recorded those, and
Well, I hope you are because you've grown, you've developed.
and I want to I want to have the new and improved Wheezy out there on
Yeah.
video.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing I have my scripts ready. Um, I have learned what I've needed to learn to um, get the the first 8 videos ready, and what I need to do, I need to hit the record button.
Right. So I think you just answered your own question. and that's often what happens when I'm coaching people, and often, just by talking about the next tiny step method and saying that it's a starting point, and then giving space to people to talk through it, they come to that point. So you need to push the start button. Okay, is there anything that you need to do to get yourself ready to push the start button? Like what needs to happen before you actually put the start button?
I need to read my scripts out loud a couple times just so that I more and I do have my scripts ready and I do have a teleprompter because I find these videos I want to have very clean language. I
Yeah,
don't want
no,
to
I
have
get
to
it.
edit a lot. I don't want to have a lot of edits in it. So I do have a teleprompter. So what before I record, I need to practice those scripts a couple times and do a little pre-recording just to kind of see where I'm at, to see if I'm happy
Right,
instead of wasting a lot of time just recording.
great. And so would you use the teleprompter to do that?
Yes.
You'd practice with the teleprompter?
Yes.
Right. So what do you need to do to be able to practice with the teleprompter?
Uh
Like, is it all set up, ready to go?
mhm. Yeah.
So
Yep.
the
I set
scripts
it
are
up
all
this weekend. Mhm. I've got it set
right.
up this weekend and I just need to find I like it when I really don't have anything else on my schedule,
Right.
anything pressing on my schedule, so that I can just kind of go for it and not have to pay attention to time. So I just need to find a day on the calendar that I don't have anything else pressing
Right. So
for
if
that
you were
day.
to have a look in your calendar right now, could you find a time?
I could find time on Saturday.
Great. What time?
I would say 10 a.m.
10 a.m. on Saturday. And what are you going to do at 10 a.m. on Saturday?
I will be ready, camera ready, and I will come up here and I will pull up my scripts. Oh, you know what? And this is what happens a lot of times. I'm not ready because in order to use a teleprompter, I have to have my scripts put into my teleprompter app, and I don't have that ready yet.
There you go. So, okay, so you need to do that. When could you do that? Do you think that if you had them ready to go, you would just be able to do your
Hmm.
rehearsal, and then once you did your rehearsal, that would get you going?
Yes, and I can put
Okay.
the scripts into the teleprompter app tomorrow.
At what
Starting,
time?
um, I could start that by 9:30 a.m.
Great. Great. Okay. So tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., you're going to open your teleprompter and you're going to copy and paste your scripts into the teleprompter and just check that it works.
Yes,
Great. Does that feel like something that's going to help you move forward and make progress towards your goal of updating your YouTube channel?
yes, it
Great.
does.
Are we done?
Yes. um, and
Now,
then
if I was working with somebody in a group, we have a piece of software that we use that makes it super simple. So I would ask you to put that into the software, and I would ask you to select the time that you chose, and it would send you back a email that you can click, and it puts it straight into your calendar. But so that's kind of the process that we use, because we run these small groups that do the next tiny step method. We run them all over the world. However, anybody can do this simply by opening their calendar and popping it into their calendar
mhm.
immediately. And that's so important. And people will say, oh, well, I don't use a calendar. I don't need to use a calendar. I
I
just
don't know
remember
how somebody
things.
cannot use a calendar.
Yeah. And
For
for
me,
me, I know I don't either. And
I
I'm not
don't
saying,
block. I don't block. I don't. I'm not. I'm not like super time blocked, but I I have gotten to the point. I know where my energy is at what part of the day,
Hmm.
of what kind of things I can work on.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
absolutely.
and it kind of ebbs and flows through that,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
but yeah.
With the calendar thing, you know, if you were going out to a movie, you scheduled it somewhere. Now, maybe you have scheduled in your brain and it's not written down somewhere, but um, you know that that's an important thing for you because you value it. If you're going out for dinner with friends, there's a certain time that you need to be where you need to be. And in fact, there's probably a certain time that you need to leave home to get there. So that's
Mm-hmm.
starting point. So then there might, you back that up again and you say, okay, there might be a certain time point in time where I need to start getting ready. And I don't necessarily schedule all that sort of thing in my calendar. That would get a little bit crazy. But the big, really important things, I always have scheduled in my calendar. So I know when I'm working, I know when I'm meeting
Mm-hmm.
with people, I know when we're going out for dinner, I know when I have a plane to catch. All those sorts of things are scheduled in my calendar because I know that time is not going to wait for me. Time is
And
going to keep ticking.
yeah,
And it's
and do
probably
you
the
look at the last second, or do you have a time that you like review your calendar to kind of
I have my
keep?
calendar open all day, every day.
Oh
It's
wow.
the it's the first tab in my browser. So when I'm working in my office, it's the first tab in my browser. I can see it up there now. I'm not looking directly at it, but if I click that tab, it would pop up. I know what I'm doing, and I'm continually looking at it and thinking, what have I got coming up tomorrow? What have I got scheduled? What else do I need to get done? When am I going to have time to get that done? Yeah, I'm looking at that stuff all the time. And people might be listening to this going, man, I couldn't live my life like that. That like feels far too tight, far too disciplined, far too whatever. Actually, I feel like I have all the time in the world because I go out for walks regularly, but I don't schedule those. But it's something that's really important to me, and I go out and do it. I schedule the things that basically I know I can't move, that are highly valuable to me, and I can't move. And I really am committed to doing those things. So, one of the other things I've started doing um, in the last couple of weeks is something called morning pages, where you sit down and write for uh, you write 3 pages and in the mornings, and I get up at 6 o'clock. Now that is not scheduled in my calendar, but
You've made it a habit.
well, yeah, habit. That's another thing.
Oh,
No, I
that's right.
don't.
I forgot. I forgot. I
I,
forgot.
it's a routine.
Routine.
My
Okay,
alarm
routine.
goes off at 6 a.m. in the morning, and I get up and I walk into the lounge, and I've already set out my book and my clothes and my pen, and I get up and I pull my tracksuit pants on and a top on, and I make myself a cup of tea and I sit down and I write. And there is now over 36,000 words, and it's only stream of consciousness stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but it's something that I do on a consistent basis, and it's made such a difference to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Getting to a routine really helps.
That's the
It,
thing. It's
I,
it's
I guess it was born into me to have routine growing up on the farm because we had we had to we had to have our day scheduled
yeah,
because we had things that had to be taken care of. So for me, this all makes sense. It's like and you take and do some of your harder things for I learned how to do harder things early. Just get it done and then you can do the fun and the less taxing things later into the day when your energy may not be as high. I'm a high energy morning person, so for me I'm very much like you. I get up and I write and I have my quiet time. I have my thinking, I process a lot first thing in the morning and then go on and do my exercises and then get to work.
yeah. Well, I mean, I used to be a morning person. I wish I was. Not so much
Not
anymore.
anymore.
Hardest thing for me is when my alarm goes off at 6 o'clock is to get my feet on the floor. if I can do that one simple thing, then the rest of the day rolls out.
Is that
So,
because you
my
became more
tiny
of a
step.
musician over the last year and a half, 2 years?
No, I mean, no, like, yeah, playing late nights and stuff like that. No, I think I'm just a little bit more mature. Um, the
Well, a
years
lot
are
of us
ticking by.
mature people don't sleep that many hours anymore. So
Yeah, so
I would love to. I I have that is that is something else that I have worked on, but because and this is going to sound like I'm going down a rabbit hole, but I promise you I am not. I have become more consistent of sleeping 7 to close to 8 hours a night. I used to be 5 or 6, but because I made a choice that that was something that was important to me for my longevity, that I needed to work on getting more sleep. I've taken steps in my life so that I do sleep better at night.
yeah, yeah, it's so important. And what I find, and I've always known this, but and most of us do know these things. If you want more sleep, you don't go to bed earlier. You actually get up earlier in the morning,
Yeah. There's just
and then the
unfortunately
following night you find yourself going to bed earlier.
yes, yes, because that would be me. Um, because some mornings, if I can get to 5 o'clock in the morning and slept, you know, pretty good all night long and get to 5 o'clock, that's like a yes. If it's 6 o'clock or later, I'm sleeping in and I'm really celebrating. I'm like, woohoo!
Yeah, well, 6 a.m. still feels very, very early for me. And again, what I'm finding with the writing, and it's the same with all these things, it's getting on the journey. People have said to me, "Well, Richard, you could do your writing at some other time of the day."
Mm,
No, there is something about morning pages. Yeah, and the example, it's so obvious and so stupid to even say it, maybe, but you can't watch the sunrise at 3 p.m.
no,
It doesn't work like that, you know and your brain and your physiology is not going to be the same at 10 o'clock or 2 o'clock or 6 o'clock as it is first thing when you wake up. And often I wake up and I make myself a cup of tea and I'm writing, and sometimes I write. I am sitting here at the table starting to write my morning pages, watching the ink flow out the end of the pen. And it's like, why is that like, isn't that like just a waste of time? Here's what I find. This morning, I got to within about two and three quarter pages. And then I just ran out of words. And so I started writing. I feel like I've just run out of words, but I still have quarter of a page to write. I wonder why I should bother even filling this page. Um, and then what did I say here? I'm just looking at this. Huh. It was all about working through writing blocks. And that instead of just stopping at that point, I would continue writing because I know that some other words or some other idea is going to pop into my head. I just need to continue moving the pen until something distracts me or some idea distracts me, and then I write about that. And so it's training myself to keep going even when it's hard.
so if taking that and taking the other the step program, the step method, um, how can that help somebody who feels overwhelmed when they have a I know you have different things of challenge or something, but somebody wants to get a big project done, or there's something highly motivative in their life that they want to change. How can they work this in if they have and overcome the overwhelm?
Yeah. So, I was talking to somebody the other day and they were thinking about this big project that they wanted to do. And they really want to do it and they will accomplish it because they have the ability. But this guy told me that just thinking about it gave him a sense of anxiety and a
Mhm.
feeling of being overwhelmed. And I said, yeah, I get it. When you think about what is required to accomplish that, it's a huge amount of work. And that can be overwhelming. It can be tiring. It can be exhausting. We can suddenly find ourselves feeling stuck and going, why do I even bother? Why do I even want to do this? This is like crazy. And then we start questioning ourselves, do I really have the ability, and how long is all that sort of thing? And so what I would say about that is just remind yourself, firstly, why you really want to achieve that thing, or at least move in the direction of that thing. And then, secondly, give yourself permission just to take a tiny step, just to get started. A single, tiny, easily doable, but purposeful action. So, I want to write, so I'm writing every day. I'm not necessarily writing every day about what I want to finally write about, but I'm writing.
Mhm.
And just the act of writing is making me feel more confident that maybe I'll be able to write an article or a blog post. And then maybe I'll be able to write a series of those. And then maybe a series of those will turn into chapters. And then maybe those chapters will turn into sections. And then maybe those sections will turn into a book.
Yeah.
We all say that this is the crazy thing. We all know the saying that the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And yet people will then say, yeah, but I don't want to take single steps. I want to take quantum leaps. Well, I think kind of quantum leaps appear as quantum leaps in hindsight. When we look back, we go, wow, that's huge.
Yeah.
Like people have said to me, well, what's the quantum leap kind of moment that you've discovered in doing these, 1,000 consecutive daily Facebook lives? And I'm going, well, I'm not sure. For me, what it has told me is that if I stay alive, 1,000 days is going to go by. And actually, 1,000 days is only 2.5 years, 2 and 3/4 years. Most of us can remember back 2, 3 years. And if you stay alive, you know that you are still going to be alive in 2.5, 3 years' time. What are you doing right now that is at least moving you in the direction that you want to go in?
Yeah.
Do something, even if it's tiny. I have so many stories around this. Story of my daughter, and they were renovating their home and having a baby and doing all sorts of things all at the same time. And they just got stuck. Things just slowed down. Their renovation slowed down, and winter was coming, and it was cold, and they needed to get the fireplace in. And I just said to her, well, what's the next tiny step you need to take in doing that? She said, I just need to phone this guy about the fireplace. I said, great, when can you phone her? And she gave me a time. I think she put it in her diary, in her schedule. She phoned the guy, and that triggered a whole series of events. And all of a sudden, in a few weeks, they suddenly had their fireplace in their home. And it had been sitting there for months, where she'd been saying, we need to get the fireplace done. We need to get this finished. We've got a baby coming. We've got to do this. Great. But you've got to take action. The point is, you don't have to take massive action. You just have to make a start.
Yeah,
And
and keep it
and
consistent.
yeah, and then start again, start again. And of course, when we talk about starting points, once you get started, you might you might only do that one tiny thing, but then you might do another tiny thing after that, and you might do another tiny thing, and all of a sudden you found yourself working 15 minutes or half an hour or
Yeah,
an hour.
when when we would in our group, when we would meet, and we would discuss our next tiny steps. So when I would sit down, sometimes I would wait, till it's like, that's the day I'm going to do it. I'm black. But it's like I already said, if I'm going to commit, that was just the action to get me started.
That's right.
And then I would work until I got to the a next stopping point.
Yeah. And I say to my guitar students, I have quite a few guitar students, and they say to me, well, how much should I practice every day? And I go, I don't know. It depends how good you want to get, I guess. But here's what I do want you to do. I just want you to pick your guitar up every day. And some
Hmm.
days, they're students, they're incredibly busy. They have a lot on. Guitar is just another thing they do. So some days they just pick their guitar up, they pick their guitar up and they put it down again and they go, I'm done. Great. But what would most people do when they've picked up their guitar? What's the next thing they do?
They would play. I have
They
a
would play
client.
it.
I have a client who's 80 years old. He has guitars. He tells me he picks it up and he plays it like 3 times a day for like 10, 20 minutes
Yeah.
every day.
And so it's like it's once you can get yourself going, the step after what you've done becomes kind of obvious. You know, we used to call it the obvious next step method. I don't know whether you
Yes.
remember way back to
Yep.
those days. The problem with that was people would say to me, well, if I knew what the my obvious next step was, then I'd take it. I go, okay, why don't you just take a tiny step to get started? What would that be? And back everything up like we did when I was coaching you before. You
Yeah.
thought you knew what you needed to do. You know, people say, oh, I'll just record 8 videos and I'll get that done by 3 o'clock on Friday afternoon.
No.
It doesn't kind of work like that. And we know it doesn't because we know that we actually have to put time in to record those 8 videos. And there's a whole lot of things that needs to happen. So, you know, what I suggest is that that might be the goal that you're going for. And hey, I understand deadlines. I'm not against deadlines. I get that. I understand that. But what I am saying is there are so many things in our environment that can stop us achieving the things that we want to achieve. Yeah, as
Well,
I said before, we have way less control than we think we have to actually get things done by the time we think we're going to do them. Life happens, technology happens, all sorts of crazy things happen.
anything
But
can
if you
happen. Illness, unfortunately,
absolutely,
death. Hey, this spring I went ahead and taught a class. My dog died that morning. He died in my husband's arms. And I'm like going, I have a class to teach. Am I going to cancel it? No, I'm just going to go and ask them for grace and mercy.
yeah,
I kept, I had because I knew what I was going to teach. I had my slides. Was it the best that I could do? No, but was it horrible? No. People still
yeah,
learn.
and I bet that getting started or making that decision to start, that was the hardest point.
Yeah.
I'm sure once you got started with them, you get into a role, you get into the flow, and away it goes. You
Yeah.
know, I also say to my students, we have this whole kind of perfectionism thing in our culture,
Mm.
that we think we need to be brilliant first time out of the gate. You know, the
That's
first time
a
we do something,
fallacy. That is a huge, to me, that is the hugest fallacy that any of us can say because we don't do anything perfect the right time.
no,
And
I mean, you
the
look at
time we
you
come out
look
of
at
the womb, we're practicing the next thing. And we have to
exactly. You look
practice
at it,
in order to take that first cry, that first, to eat. I mean, when a baby comes out, they have to practice to eat. They don't know instinctively, hey, how to eat. And then and then learning new tools and everything. So I'm
yeah. So
sorry,
I
I
say to my
hijacked your thought. I
You're exactly right, and that's what I was going to say. In fact, I was going to use that example. We have to be prepared that it's going to be rubbish first time out, and just give ourselves grace to say, hey, it's going to be rubbish, and that's okay. I think there's a saying that says if something is worth doing, it's worth doing badly until you can do it well.
And I'm still doing things badly. And I'm still
Uh,
learning every day.
yeah, and
But
my
it's smart.
youngest I was watching my youngest granddaughter feed herself last night, and she's not 2 yet. She's 1.5. And oh my goodness, what a mess. It was
Yeah.
just a mess. But she's
But
now able to feed herself, right? You know, and then my next granddaughter is there, and she's 4.5. She is able to easily feed herself and not wallpaper the entire room with food.
now,
There's a big difference now. Yeah, that's right. She's learned, you know. Um, and so I think often we are our own worst critic, and I am certainly my own worst critic. I also know that if I'm feeling a bit down, normally that's because I've got a bit of a cold. There's I might not have got a good night's sleep. There's something chemically, physically not quite right. Um, and so I need to give myself grace around that. and go, hey, if I'm not, and that doesn't mean that if I'm not feeling it, I won't do it. I mean, there's a great statement
You
that,
do what you can do.
yeah, you just do what you can do and you make a start, and that's okay. There's this great quote, I think it's, I'm not sure, it might be Ernest Hemingway or somebody like that. Somebody said, well, do you just write when you're inspired? And he said, yes, I do. And inspiration turns up at 9 o'clock every morning.
Yep. Well, I just have to say, listening to this, and like you said, we haven't talked in like a year, and I've been away from the groups and stuff of working like this for well over a year. But you know what I realized while we were talking, Richard? It's the foundation. Even though I'm not teaching that, it's still the foundation to a lot of my process that I teach when I'm working with people to overcome the nervousness of getting on camera. What are they going to say? What are they going to what topic are they going to talk about? You know, how are they going to write it down? Because my approach is the 3P approach: planning, prepping, and then practicing. And like we were talking about the child, the first time you get on video or your first script, it's probably going to suck. um and you're going to stumble and you're going to forget and you're going to gaff. Guess what? We all still do it every day, but you get better and the more you do it. And that's why I tell people, if you prepare and then you practice, by the time you hit the record, you're going to feel more confident that you doing it, and then you start doing it, and then your confidence comes up that you come out and you do it more. So
Yeah,
you
and
make
it's
more
about it's
YouTube,
about
so
focusing. It's
or
about focusing on the progress.
yeah, and or you do those
Measure yourself.
1,000
Yeah, measure
Facebook
yourself
lives.
on the progress. Measure yourself on the progress that you're making, not whether or not you've got to this kind of imaginary goalpost. And because we all hate it when we're working in a job and somebody shifts the goalpost, they shift
Oh
the
yeah,
expectation,
you
right? We hate that. But here's the thing, we do it to ourselves all the time. I know that we've all had the experience where we've got closer and closer and closer to a goal that we thought it was just everything, right? It was just the gold mine. It was the whole deal, right? And then we've got there and we've gone, oh man, I could do this. I could go that much further. I could make it look like this. I could, you know, we move the goalposts ourselves. And
mm-hmm,
here's the thing, that is a good thing. That's how
mm-hmm.
progress occurs. And that's one of the things that we need to be a little bit careful of with just setting goals, is that goals can end up being very, very limiting.
Yeah, yeah.
And we can miss opportunities along the way because we go, no, I'm only going to achieve this. That's the goal out there. And everything else is, I've got to forget about. And that's not the way life works.
Just this morning I was having this conversation. um Somebody, and it was about, we they say, put your blinders on and don't pay attention to what anybody else is doing when you really want to achieve something, because you get fear, FOMO,
Comparison, all that sort of
yeah,
stuff.
all that comparison stuff and everything, which is true. There are times that you need those blinders, but we were given peripheral vision, and sometimes you have to go, okay, so I'm focused on this, but is there anything else out here? Maybe, be willing to eschew something differently or approach it a different way in order to make it better, or at least try it. It may work, it may not work, but you just take a maybe a little sidestep and have a little experiment and see if it works or not. And I'm sure you did that during this 1,000-day challenge of the
Yeah,
Facebook
I tried.
Lives.
I tried all sorts of things. I didn't get myself locked in to. I had two things. One was that I had to go live consecutively for 1,000 days, and well, that's only one thing, I guess. But the
Yeah.
I set the bar super low. All I had to do was push that blue go live button. And
And
then,
you
as
could
I
choose
said,
to go 1 second or 10,000 seconds.
exactly, exactly. Yeah.
So,
And then I had all these kind of other little things that I was hoping that maybe I would achieve along the way, but they weren't the point.
right, right. Well, Richard, it has been great. So, before we get out of here, I want to know, um, now that you have completed the 1,000 day challenge and you're on board with your step program and you're playing your guitar and you're being a great granddad, um, what what else is in store for Richard Ralston?
Well, what's in store? Well, I will continue writing my morning pages. That's what I've committed to at the moment. I am hoping to write a book. I'm heading in that direction, so that'll be interesting. The biggest thing I've got to do, I have my own fears and concerns and hesitations as well. I need to get out in front of more people and promote my business. And, I was just talking with a bunch of guys in a small group earlier this morning, and each of us have this thing that we know impacts people's lives. One guy he teaches a master's degree on product development. I have my little thing with progress pods and the software that helps membership owners set up